All right, what's going on, everyone? Man, I guess it's April Fool's today because nothing is working for me today. The countdown wasn't working. We had to shut down the other stream, and it's a mess. So please send some grace over there this way. So um, I appreciate everyone joining. Please give me a thumbs up if everything's good. Um, yeah, so let me post the stream link. And my apologies here. Hold on. So I'm gonna put the stream link because we had a lot of issues with the stream itself. So just bear with me real quick. How's everybody doing? Again, it's April Fools. I don't know what's going on. I guess April Fools is getting the best of me today, so my apologies. All right, so there's the link. And then I'm gonna put it in the comments too if you guys want to send that out because that was my bad. So anyway, let me introduce myself. My name is Eric Velasquez, and I'm interviewing the City of San Antonio candidates for the 2021 elections that's upcoming here next month. The last day to register is today. I said yesterday because I'm like, I want y'all to get registered if you haven't been registered already, or check your status as well. So, but today is the absolute last day, postmark and everything. So make sure you go and do that. ASAP if you're not registered, or just go check your status as well on the Bexar County elections page, and do that. The list of all the candidates is already out on the City of San Antonio Bear election page, and then also the League of Women Voters SA has a candidate guide as well. Always encourage people to watch these videos. I know they're a little long, but it's helpful to get to know more about the candidate. Kind of different than when you get these excerpts or these little questionnaires or forums as well. So please share. So without further ado, let's bring in our next guest. Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Good morning.
And thank you for being patient. Thank you to your people to being patient as well. Like I said, this has never happened, but there's always a first, right? And what better way than April Fools, right? So go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Valdez. I am born and raised off of Zarzamora, Nogalitos, in that area. It used to be called the Circle. And I'm 52 years old, and so I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and went to South San High School, and then went to Palo Alto College, where I met my wife of 27 years and married into the Harlandale family, and I'm a proud Harlandale dad. And I've got 3 daughters, and I'm one. My oldest, she's going to make me a grandpa in late June, or maybe early July. Found out the other day it was going to be a boy. So for a dad with girls, yeah, thank you. For a dad with girls, it's pretty exciting to see what the boy dynamic adds to the family element. And so what else? Oh, and I got my bachelor's from Texas A&M San Antonio in management and entrepreneurial studies. I'm a published author. I wrote one of the first books on planning quinceañeras because I was a professional photographer for many years. Did a lot of weddings, did a lot of quinces, and I realized that there was really no help for people who needed to plan. And we planned the book down to the detail, and the book did really well. It came out in 2010. It's on Amazon right now, and so I'm very blessed with the modern publishing techniques. Published on a lot of people in that respect, and I'm actually in graduate school at Texas A&M San Antonio in the MBA program, and also managing this campaign, which is a bit of a learning curve for me. But nevertheless, it's been exciting. It's been a bit stressful, and I got a shout out to my partner, Mr. Ruben Garcia, who's done our social media and our Facebook page, and he's a professional photographer, a guy that actually taught me photography back. We've known each other for a long time, and so you can't see, but he's waving in the background. So we've done a lot of things together, him and I. And so as a proud dad of girls, I am a huge advocate for higher education. So I'm very fortunate that our oldest daughter has her master's from Youngstown State University in Ohio, which we were advocates for getting children out of San Antonio to see the world. And then our second daughter graduated from UT Austin with a bachelor's in business administration. And then the youngest, she's in her quinceañera, believe it or not. She's 15. We had a very simple celebration for her. As something I reflect in the book about celebrations don't have to be extravagant; they can be simple. And so that's what we practice, but we still honor the tradition.
And pay your photographers the correct amount of money, because I used to be a photographer. Well, I'm technically still a photographer. Like, I did that too. And, for weddings, it was always like, oh, well, we're paying like $3,000 or $4,000 on the food, but then like, oh, we'll pay you like $1,000. I'm like, really?
It's the only thing left after the event. The event
Right.
has come and gone, whether it's a wedding or whether it's a quince or 50th anniversary. And so many people, one of the biggest how should I say, things that always make me scratch my head was the limousines here. Let's hurry up and take the pictures. It's like, but this is the only thing left
Yeah.
after the ceremony. After everything's gone, you have your pictures. So let's take our time and make sure we're not rushed and we get everybody. And so, yeah,
Exactly.
I'm with you. I've had, over many years,
Oh
checks bounced and
yeah.
things like that. But it was part of the deal. I had a lot of fun. Saw a lot of really interesting things. Did an African wedding, a Russian, Polish wedding, which was very different to see the different traditions. So,
I did an African funeral, and
okay.
that was interesting. It was awkward, but it's a close friend of ours, and they wanted me to take pictures, and I was like,
Oh,
okay, this is weird, but I mean, it was good to be able to do that, but yeah, definitely you get some weird stuff. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Let's see here. We have Larry. Uh, he has a question here. Oh, it's in the private. Oh, it's right. Okay. Let's see here. Let me see. I'm gonna copy and paste this in the comments just that way people can see. um. So okay. So Larry asks how could a San Antonio Housing Authority improve in their response during the winter snowstorm emergency to the Fair Avenue Apartments residents, which were senior and disabled citizens?
well, first, my response to that is what a mess. Um, was at that press conference, and the stories that I heard uh, were incredible. And then actually, uh, Larry was there, and he brought out the Saha disaster plan, which is available for everybody to see. And when you take that plan and you listen to the stories, you realize that none of that was done. And so there is people in the audience, or there were people there that claimed that it cost someone their life, but because it was done on the hush hush, there's no um, proof of connecting that to the actual event. At least I don't know what was happening. I made contact with one lady. I made sure that I am reaching out regularly to one resident there who was very vocal, who was concerned about reprisal as a result of that. And I just want to advocate for seniors. And then since then, I've talked to several people about this experience. And one of my cousin, who actually has a good friend in a Saha facility, they seem to intimidate them whenever there's a complaint or a concern. So we as a community need to wake up to the fact that our neighbors, which there are neighbors, and some of the seniors are being, I don't know how to say, intimidated
Mm,
by, people in management at Saha. They say, if you speak up, you're out. And actually, that day of the press conference, they said, I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm going to speak up. And so it's incumbent on us as potential elected officials or people at some point that hopefully, or even as members of the community, to connect with them so we can be their voice for them, so they know that when something like that happens, um, that there are more people who are paying attention. And I think that the more people who pay attention, whether it be a nursing home, whether it be the senior high rise at Fair, and that was the first I'd heard about it actually, that it was as bad as it was, because during that time I was in survival mode, and so I mean, there's that whole series during that winter storm was so it was just like a domino effect. And then that leads into the controversial issue regarding ERCOT and CPS, and what we're finding out as a result of that, and how there's a potential that some of these utilities are becoming defunct in Texas. They're sending out these massive bills and closing up shop. And so we've got to ask ourselves a question. Do we want CPS to go defunct? Well, one of the things is if you read or watched the news, you know that City Council gave approval to CPS to borrow $500 million. Well, that's to keep them afloat. But one of the things is we as citizens know that there's some executives getting paid a lot of money, and they have one job, and that job didn't get executed correctly. Now, remember, the truth is complicated. Is that their fault that the power went out? Actually, no, it's a statewide issue. But what we can say as the advocates or leaders of the city public service, what did they do to mitigate or get ahead of that potential crisis? Where are the emails? Show us that you reached out, and according, which is when you
Which
really
they
get
don't
into
want to
this.
release. They don't want to release the emails.
And another thing is when you get into this, you realize if they had just paid attention to the forecast and filed the proper paperwork probably a day after or during, there was a small window that they could have filed it, and then none of this would have happened. And so now that we look back on it, it's kind of infuriating because it's literally a lack of foresight, a lack of planning, and somewhat incompetency at that level. So to me, I am with the mayor, Sue Urquhart, but also I'm saying even further that the CEO of CPS needs to either resign or retire after all this lawsuit is said and done. And so this is something that we look at those citizens, we look at our neighbors, we look at the people that have passed away. There was a Harlandale trustee who couldn't get to his dialysis treatment, and then subsequently he passed away. And so we're now realizing, I think throughout the whole state of Texas, there's a number of like 500 people that might have lost their lives. So getting back to Mr. Romo's original question, is that this was local. This is in our backyard, and it really opened my eyes. It broke my heart, and I have a soft spot in my heart for seniors. And we need to, as a community, as the younger generation, need to spend more time, getting to know our seniors. And I have a background in entertainment, and for the last 8 years, I've been going around to senior homes with my mom, and we've been performing, and so providing music because I'm a musician, and as an artist, as I'm speaking to an artist, that we find various methods of expressing ourselves
Right.
through the art, and so on my Facebook page and on the website at officeofstevevaldez.com, you'll see videos of my mom and I talking about some of the experiences we've had at nursing homes and some of the miracles that if I were to share you those stories, that I'll tell you, guys, this is an election. I would love to represent you, but it's 1 out of 12. Statistically, if everything was equal, I have a 1/12th chance of winning. At this point, I don't really care if I win. I want to see 153,000 people at District 3. We only get 4.5% to turn out. That's 7,000 people. I want to see people turn out. And so my job and my campaign is about getting people to turn out to vote. So I'll ask you, Eric, and we'll get into this a little bit more. What are the issues that I know you're running a campaign as well, but you're also a veteran, and veterans issues is very important to me. But I digress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not running this. I ran last year, but same issues that a lot of people were upset about where no representation. But the thing too is we have to go out and vote. I asked this question to a couple of candidates, and I said, do you feel that the reason why some of these places do not get representation is because they do not go and vote, and so the people that are in office don't really pay attention to it? And they said, some said no, and then some said yes. And I do think it's a yes, because if it's kind of like voter apathy, they're gonna just do whatever they want to do as far as elected official, and not really
Right.
go out and care about what's going on. But like
Right.
in District 10 or District 9, where there are high voter turnouts, you know, you would probably see a little bit more engagement with the council people. So, there's things like that that I think is the biggest issue. And if we want people to listen to us as a district or as a city, we need to go out and show that we are engaged with the city election. That's why I want to do things like this, to where we're reaching out to everybody and everybody has an equal say, or have a platform, but also to really get an idea of who we're electing or who we're pushing that button for when we're going to go vote.
I
And
think
that's something that even me growing up, I didn't do that. I would just vote on, oh, look, this sign looks pretty cool. I've seen that name before. I'll go ahead and vote for that. But that was terrible, right? And that's where I think a lot of people vote, or it's just name recognition or whatever it is. So we really need to get down to the facts of who we're actually voting.
yeah, there's nothing more that affects us directly, if you think about it, than the school board votes.
Mm,
And through the years, people who I've met, listen to me, they admire my passion. They said, "You should run for school board." The problem with that is, I was heavily involved with Harlandale ISD, and which really prompted this whole. I've always been curious about politics and things like that. This is actually my first time running for office. Um, Nothing affects you more directly than the school board vote, because those individuals are making decisions on millions of dollars that you pay in taxes. And I'll tell you, you touched on something there's a lot to be passionate about when you realize that by and large, the voter base he probably doesn't have time to care or just isn't involved. And so, in my mom's area where I grew up, there is a 4-story high rise going up. Now it's going up, butting up against the neighborhood. And when you profile the high rise, it's been done before. So you go and ask the neighbors around the other high rises that are going up. And what happens is they come in, they promise all these great things about low income and helping people, etc. Then what happens is 3 or 4 years later, management leaves, and then you'll have issues with people bringing in other tenant or other people that are living there, that relatives and things like that. Then you start to see crime spike. Then you start to see the neighbors being terrorized by the people in the apartment complexes. And so we have to understand that we have to ask ourselves, do we want more high rises of a low income persuasion in District 3? And then what does that mean for us? Because I grew up poor all my life. And so I have nothing against poor people. But these particular high rises don't pay into the school districts. Their children go to school with your kids. So what we want and what we should all want is single family homes. Single family homes, whether they're tiny homes, whether they're big homes or whatever, we should want homes, because the people who own homes care about the neighborhood, pay the taxes, and they advocate. And so we talk about voter turnout. Total citywide on city elections is like 6.5%. And so my thing is, I do have the ambition of representing, but at the same time, there are larger issues. And the larger issue is, I want to bring as much attention to the fact that this is the time for which our voice is so important. And if we don't use our voice, this is another thing. I've actually advocated in the zoning commissions against this particular high rise. I realized something. I guess there's 8 for every, there's 8 commissioners. And while our zoning commissioner may vote against this project, the other 7 are saying, put that in District 3. And guess what? He's outvoted. And next thing you know, there's another high rise going up on the south side, or in District 3 or District 5. And so I want the community to wake up and understand that your voice is so important. So this way, you're not exploited. And if you don't vote, you are being ripe for exploitation. And so I have a question. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, but I want to know how many former city councilmen go to work for developers to push these things into our neighborhoods. Why? Because they know the system. And so if we don't ask the questions, how are we going to know? And so I think it would shock people to find out that we do have former city councilmen that are advocating for developers. And then if we look at the developers' pattern of behavior and things like that, in my own neighborhood at Harlandale, we had a large apartment complex go up. I went from having bullying, teasing, to actual physical assaults of my children within the span of when that apartment complex comes up. Now, the Harlandale district is great about taking care of behavioral issues. But I did see a shift and I did see a change, and it was pretty scary to know that you now had to worry about your children's physical harm. And so I'll let you take back over.
Yeah. And granted, like I went to Burbank, so I mean, we always saw fights and things like that. But it's just one of those things that I think if you look at if and actually we had this conversation yesterday, is if we look at San Antonio is becoming, or is already on trend to become, or a renter city, right? Because they keep popping up a bunch of apartment complexes. And what I was telling people yesterday is the problem with this is that, one, a lot of these apartment complexes are either they may be fighting some of their property taxes with BCAD, or they might not and just pass it on to the residents, or they're fighting their property taxes and still passing on to the residents. So you're still going to get priced out sometimes. And with home ownership, a lot of people don't protest their property taxes,
Right.
and that is a big issue. And actually, we were actually talking yesterday. I did a live stream about seeing who wants to do a live stream with us. So if you want to do that, please send me a message. We want to do a property tax live stream with a couple professionals, and then also with a BCAD or Barry County Appraisal District representative. So we need to inform ourselves how to do this, how to change these things, to where we're setting ourselves up for a better future itself, but also having the knowledge and resources to do what we need to do to keep our taxes at bay, as much as we can. But the thing too, like you were saying, is with the developers, you're looking at developers in the school board elections, you're looking at developers in the city council elections, as far as with donations and things like that. So that's where it becomes an issue, where we're like, well, who's in it for the people and who's not in it for the people? You know what I mean? And that's where I always tell people, go look at the campaign finance reports, because that's where you start seeing where the money's coming from, where it's going. Now, granted, a business isn't supposed to be donating to a campaign, even though I have seen that in some of the city council elections, campaign finance reports, they put a business name in the person's name. So I don't know. But I mean, it's things like that we really need to look into, and really stop this cycle, right?
Well, it starts with the conversation,
Right.
and most everything, the development, let's say, of the issue of education, let's say the issue of seniors. It starts with a conversation. We cannot be afraid to talk about things. Now, we're in a very divided time in this country where, and even some of the Facebook comments that I've gotten want to ask me, what party affiliation that I have, to put me in a respective corner so they can begin to look for those kinds of things that further put me in that tribe. And what's interesting about this whole dynamic is that we are adults and we can exchange ideas. And there is this old adage about, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion. Well, I don't believe that. And if you're mature, you can talk about anything as long as you're respectful to the individual, and as long as you engage, and as long as you're thoughtful, and as long as so as long as you're mature, you can talk about anything. And it's when you talk and exchange ideas and then mostly listen is when you'll learn something. So I'm a huge believer in never stop listening. And one of the things that I notice, especially in the political endeavor, is people like to sum you up. They either like you or they don't like you. And the thing that I think we need to understand is people is that we're all a spectrum. And there are going to be things about me that you're not going to like for sure, but there's going to be things about me that you're going to love. So and so if you give me a chance and not try and sum me up, chances are you're going to end up finding something that we can agree on, and then just choose to disagree on the other things. And so there's a thing. I'm a huge. My biggest attribute is not only in management and leadership, but it's also in communication. I think that you can draw connection and communication when you use the analogies, and I think once we, you can't reduce the conversation down to personal insults, because then no one's listening. It has to be kept in where we focus on solving the problem based on our mutual concern for resolving the issue.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that I've been trying to do here. Like, there might be some comments sometimes that might come up that are like, come on, like, is that really needed? But there are some legitimate questions, and we had a recent, crazy interaction recently with a school board candidate, and that didn't turn out really well. But I mean, it's true. Like, some of these things we really, they're legitimate questions. You know what I mean? And they should be answered. So, but
one of the things that before we switch gears, it seems like you're going to switch subjects just on school boards. And I've been an advocate. I, of course, came from South End, and I did a lot of work in Harlandale. And I've watched both, and then I've watched Southside and take dissolved, and then I've watched Edwood get dissolved. And one of the things that we could start talking about as citizens is, could the alumni organizations of the high schools decide that they're going to only endorse college graduates? Now, it doesn't mean that if you're not a college graduate, you don't get the endorsement. You might just have to go through an interview process for which that you sit down and we talk about the issues, and they're like, oh, okay, so you get the alumni endorsement. But what about we say, you have a bachelor's degree, automatic endorsement from the Alumni Association. So what we begin to do is begin to start putting people in place that care about education so much that they got their own education. And I'm not saying that you have to have a great life and not have a formal education, but this level of responsibility should have some minimum basic requirements. And if anything, we should at least begin to discuss it. And there's been so many people that have upset with the idea about this notion, and it's not intentional. If anything, it's something that when you are, let's say, on another school board or in another area, and you talk to people that are on the school board, sometimes they are shocked that we don't have this basic understanding of what we expect of the people who represent us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but you look at Harlandale, they're getting close. They're under investigation currently, and they they could be coming along just like Southside. And is it Southside or South Sand that got?
Well, South Sand, I don't think, was always on the threat of losing its accreditation. It's never been dissolved. I think they've had TEA has sent someone to mind. So that's what's actually happening at Harlandale right now. There's somebody there keeping an eye on what's happening, what's going on. And what's interesting about Harlandale is you or any school district, you have attorneys, and their job is to keep them from doing illegal things. And through the process, you look at some of the things that they've done unintentionally or intentionally illegal, and you wonder, where was the legal advice from the attorneys to keep them from actually doing things? Now, there's some normal, average people on the school board at Harlandale, which is great. They put their hearts in the right place. They communicate well, and the thing is that they're not going to know everything. And that being said, I'm the same way. I'm college educated. I'm getting into politics. I'm not going to know everything about, and so I'm asking people, don't expect me to be perfect. My background is in communication and journalism. But I don't think that public office should always be held, especially at this level, by attorneys, by people who have maybe spent a lot of time in politics, because I'm coming in with a fresh set of eyes. wanting to make friends with everybody. So this way I can hear what you have to say. I don't have any preconceived notions about, oh, I don't like you, or you did me wrong or anything. And I'll tell you what's really interesting is the president of the South Chamber. I saw him last week, and I said, one of the things I've tried to make as my mantra to everybody is, of course, my slogan is kindness, strength, and unity. But kindness first is that we're going to try our best to be nice to everybody. So at the chamber events, I've told some of the other candidates, and they've all agreed, which is so crazy. And some have even taken it even further, is that we're not going to talk about negative things about each other. Number one. Number two, we're going to run our own campaigns, send our positive message out, be positive, right? And then whoever wins, I'm here to help you and help the community make things better. And so I got to hand it to Rudy Lopez for saying that the first time. He said it the first time at the chamber, and I went up to him and I was like, I'm fist bump, and I go, there you go. Exactly what we need to be doing. Because if we look at what we say, what we do, the kids are watching us.
Mhm.
And having kids, Eric, do you have children?
2, a 3-year-old and 4-year-old. Yep.
Enjoy this because it's going to pass so quickly. Next thing you know, it'll be your turn to be a grandpa. And so what I say is we should never say or do anything that we should not reflect back and be not proud to show our kids how we behaved and how we acted. And so no matter who you are, you have to remember they're going to come in and they're going to take over. So a big element of my campaign is to work with parents who want their children to become leaders or who see it in their children. Let's start working together. Let's, involve them in the process. Let them come with their parents to events that I have and let them speak and let's hear what they're concerned about. Because I was watching this thing on PBS on Greta Thunberg and her movement of, one individual started a worldwide movement of the children being angry about the adults and how they're caring for this world. It broke my heart. It's like, that is so sad because whether it's debt, whether it's the environment, we're handing it to the children with a state of it. And in that, and I think it was David Attenborough was talking about that there's a possibility there's 11 killer whales off the coast of Ireland left. And because there's so much plastic in the ocean, this was just last night, by the way, I'm sorry. The chances are they're having problems in reproduction. That's going to be the last set of killer whales off the coast of Ireland. And so we're not only with the weather, not only with the debt, we're looking at situations where as adults, we need to have conversations and make hard decisions about which direction we're going to go and be responsible for what we're handing the kids.
All right. There's a lot of waste going on for sure. Okay. Hold on. There's a lot of questions here on Instagram. Ryan and I will get to your questions here. Daniel had posted a question real quick first, so just bear with me. Sure. Daniel says, "What are your thoughts on the removal of the South Florida's bike lanes?"
I'm a big time biker, and I've ridden my bike all my life. All my friends from high school will tell you that they always saw me on my bike. I would literally ride from Division Nogalitos, which is a cross street that's closer to the house, all the way out to Palo Alto College, or I would ride downtown. And I'm talking about being like 15 years old and, 12 years old, just 15, 16 years old. Back in the day when, we could get out and just, do things like that. It's a lot more dangerous now with people being distracted. I don't think that bike lanes help you very much, honestly, because the fact that you're going with the flow of traffic and someone comes up behind you, you're basically a target that in a millisecond, you're killed or injured, and they keep going. Now, we maybe need some sort of radical philosophical change about bike lanes to where they're literally protected lanes like they do in Europe. But we're talking about a major investment that I don't know that we're ready to make yet. I think the bike lanes were a step in the right direction, but I don't think that they're going to give you the safety and security that we take for granted, because let's say something happens and a car hits you, they may still be in the wrong, the driver of the car, but you're still injured or killed. And so it breaks my heart to see those white bikes tied to poles where people have died. And as a biker myself, where I choose to ride is on the San Antonio River on the Mission Reach from Roosevelt Park all the way south. There's a wonderful trail. There's only runners and joggers and walkers out there, and so I don't have to worry about traffic. And so, but some people, like my coworker Ruben, he would commute on his bike, and he's had several close calls with cars and dogs and all kinds of things. And so, getting back to the question, what do I think about the removal? It's sad, but I just think that a bike lane doesn't give you a sense of safety. You should not take that for granted. And I would say Flores actually, if you talked about Flores, it's a very narrow street. I just don't know how effective bike lanes are on Flores. I don't know what the study is. I don't know what the information is on that. But just from a biker's perspective, would I ride down Flores and feel comfortable? I would be. I always like a motorcycle, which I don't ride anymore. Ride scared. So that's what I did on the bike. I was always paranoid and always scared. I was dominant. I sometimes would get in the road, but I sometimes would take the whole lane, because a lot of people don't understand that as a bike, you're entitled to use the road just like any other vehicle. And of course, you have to stop and things like that. And all the bikers fudge that. And so sometimes when I just felt like there was too much traffic, there was nobody on the sidewalk, I would just get up on the sidewalk and keep going. It's not supposed to do that. But at the same time, it's like it's a matter of survival. I've been run off the road by cars. When I was younger, a car cut me off, and I hit the curb and flipped over and landed on my back. I couldn't probably recover from that very well now, but back then I was virtually indestructible. So, sorry for the long answer, but
no worries. Ojit says never stop learning. Hold on, let's see. Oh,
here, I believe that. Never stop learning.
What is Mr. Valdez's understanding of policy and, for example, modifying the UDC?
What's that acronym stand for?
I'm not sure.
One thing is for sure, this learning curve, there have been a lot of acronyms, and it might be just one I'm not familiar with. I do keep up to date because my background's in journalism. Do we have an answer yet? UDC. Let's see if Ruben can find something.
Yeah, Ruben or Daniel. I know Daniel's pretty up to date with some of the stuff. But we'll get back to that one.
One thing's for sure, this brings up a good topic, and no candidate runs alone. Amongst me are other people who understand the inner workings of the city a little bit better. And there's people like Ruben's very passionate about animals, and so I am going to expect him to help guide me on what the solutions are for stray animals. That's a hot topic as well for people. And so, I just want to assure people that I'm at 52 years old. I'm totally confident with saying that I don't know everything. My forte is in communication and management, and so I am willing to learn if someone wants to teach me.
Yeah, and we have and I have a question. Remind me to ask you about exotic animals.
Okay.
The Unified Development Code is the UDC.
Exotic animals. Okay. Unified Development Code. I have to say I don't. Yeah, I don't. I'm not familiar with that subject, and I don't want to tell you that I am. So okay, fair enough. I apologize, but I will find out now that I've.
And Ryan also says, what is your experience with zoning and land use?
So zoning I work for the Mission Open Air Market. It's a very large flea market on Morrison and 410. And kudos and shout out to the owner and all my fellow employees who've been very supportive on this campaign. We actually had kind of pretty specific inter- um, experiences with zoning, and so we've actually gone through the process twice of zoning in a parking lot from a special usage for a overflow parking, and as a result of that, we have developed a totally green uh, parking space that the city uses as an example to show developers that you can't have a green parking space. So my zoning experience is I understand the process, but it's not specific. And I understand that the process, of course, going before the zoning commission and then being heard in the open forum and speaking for and against, but it's not specific beyond that.
Gotcha. Moses says, Harlandale alum here. That's not a reflection of education. Yes, very true, Mojo. As far as the school board, I mean, they've obviously had a lot of issues with the school board. But yeah, no, I know many Harlandale alumni that are awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you, honestly, I love South San. It's where my heart is. But Harlandale and their alumni, and I'll tell you, there's some citizens, guys. If you're a Harlandale alum or a citizen in Harlandale, when you see these citizens go to the board meetings and speak truth to the face of the trustees, you go, wow, it makes your hair stand on edge because you want that advocacy. They're speaking up for you. And so there are people that I'm just so proud to have seen take on the fight of making things right for the kids, and their heart is in the right place. People that I adore, like Karina Salcido, Mr. Salcido, Lillian Zapata. They're people that will speak up to their own peril. That their kids that graduate and they want to get a job in Harlandale. Well, they won't even interview them because their parents are very vocal advocates of the school board. And so while that's a political backlash and a loss,
Yeah.
because they want to give back at the same time, it does cost them. And so shout out to the Harlandale alum. I mean, they're proud. People of this community love their school, love their district, and I'm right there with them. I got a great education. Now there's this old tug of war between private school and public school, and whether the quality of education is there better. I'll tell you, we got a great education when my daughters go to McCollum High School, and it all starts with us. If we're involved, if we're paying attention, if we're insisting and setting the standard for the kids, and we tell their counselors, we're going to work in partnership with you, but my child is going to college. Will you please help me? They will help you. And I tell you what, my oldest challenged me. She challenged me on every level. And if it wasn't for one counselor at McCollum High School, I probably wouldn't. She probably wouldn't have gone to college. But I had one counselor who bought into the notion that I want my kids to get a higher education, and she spoke up and she said to my daughter, "Listen to your dad. He wants what's best for you." Guys, you have to remember, I'm not better than anybody. I'm not better than anyone. I was born, where I was at, and I grew up public school, and it took me a long time to get my bachelor's. I just got it in 2019 at 50 years old. And this is one of those things that's not uncommon to people like me. We don't get it. But we try, and we get to see the value of it that much further along in life. Now, that being said, I think about all the years I wish I would have had it, but my dad had a fifth grade education, and so where is he going to find the notion that his children should go to college? He was a janitor, loved janitors, all his life, and so I feel like for a published author, college graduate, and soon to be an MBA graduate, I hope I've done my dad proud. He's no longer with us. He died in '92, and so it's just about us having mutual support for each other. And that's the thing is, my kids will tell you when I go to a restaurant and I'll see like a young waiter or waitress, and they'll come up, and I look at them, they're like high school age, and I'll say, "Hey, how's school going?" And they'll say, "Oh, it's good. What are you going to do in college?" "Oh, well, I don't know. I'm going to go to this and that." And next thing I know, I'm there for half an hour talking to this child about the opportunities that are there, trying to leave Texas if you can. And there's just so much to know. It's heartbreaking, but I wish more of us would do that. So
And I think I think we also need to push our kids to not necessarily focus on going to college. And that's my opinion, just because college isn't for everyone, right? Like college isn't for me. I knew that from the beginning.
honestly, and no disrespect to anybody, there's a lot of dumb people with degrees. And so,
Yeah.
we've all worked for them. How did you get a degree? They have. So it's all
Right.
about us understanding that. Now, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I
Mhm.
am saying that, there's the military option, which I think is a wonderful option. Shout
Which
out to
I
the
did, yeah.
veterans out there. You guys, I tell you what, you want to get to college, you want to get through school, partner up with a veteran. A veteran's
Well,
going to pull you through.
you
They're
know,
folks.
yeah, and that was the thing that I kind of do regret, and I don't, that I didn't take my GI Bill and I didn't use it. I didn't, but um, it just wasn't for me. Even though I was in the military, it's still like I'm good. I just didn't want to take it. But there's a lot of different opportunities, especially for veterans, and disabled vets. So yeah, if you have any questions, reach out. I can help you get whatever resources you can as well. But yeah, I mean
Awesome.
that's some things that
When I
you
get
know.
elected, I'm turning to you because
Hey,
that's
there
what
you
I
go.
need. I want to have a once a quarter meeting with veterans to hear what it is they need. And I want to connect them with people like you and other resources. There's other people in the community that do what you do. And I've
Right.
been so privileged to meet them. So,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Um, So okay, so before I ask you the question about exotic animals, um, what are your top three favorite small business restaurants?
Oh,
In
restaurant.
District Three. In District Three.
B&B barbecue is one. Um, let's see. uh,
I mean, you could do more than three if you don't want to get some people upset. It's fine.
yeah, no, thanks. Definitely Nichas, Don Pedro's, shout out, Patty's Taco House. I mean, we've got some great food uh, in this area, and it's we went to one Luna Rosa the other day with Puerto Rican food, and it's like, wow, it's amazing. Um, so,
I think I almost had my campaign party there once.
oh yeah.
Yeah, they weren't taking enough people,
Also,
so I was
don't
like, all right,
forget
no.
that the Mission Open Air Market has a great serious. We actually have a bunch of food trucks inside the
Oh,
market.
really?
So we got
So
one food truck that is the closest thing to authentic tacos from Monterrey. Now, I go to Monterrey a lot. I
Mhm.
actually learned to speak Spanish because I work here at the Mission Flea Market, make friends with the family. And at 27 years old, I've been here for a while, and I learned Spanish just by going and spending time with my friends. And so, but they're the most, I think, authentic bistec tacos, the little five tacos at the
Oh,
Mission
yeah.
Open Air Market.
What are they called?
Oh my God, I don't know what the name of the truck is. I can't
Oh,
even
what?
tell you where they're at, but they're here. They're very popular. Whenever you come to the market, there's a huge crowd always around. Um, and I've had them, and
Oh.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Hmm.
So
I need to try it. So
yeah,
so actually, fun
yeah,
fact,
you're
I
come on
I
out. Do a walkthrough.
I grew up going and selling at the Mission Flea Market.
Yeah,
Like, we would
you know how
go
many
do
times I
that.
hear that? My
Yeah,
grandparents took me there. My mom took me
wake
there.
up wake up like at 3:30 in the morning. Go. It's like nighttime, and we're like, like, why are we up so early, and having to do the flashlights looking for the spot markers back when they had only the little rocks on the ground, or I don't know what it was on the
Right. It
ground.
was a round stone, and
Yeah.
I actually was the one that see my thing is and this is very important relative to people who might be watching. Um, I'm a very creative individual, and so if you give me a problem, I'll spend time thinking about it and come up with a solution. Try to anyway. So I'm the one that actually took them away from the round stones, and now what we do is we have a stripe, a yellow stripe for reserves, and then the spots are marked in spray paint. So I'm the one that developed that part. So the numbers are much bigger now, but people still cover them and stuff like that. So
Right. But yeah, that was always one of those things like, oh man, I remember those days.
hey,
But
good times. People still
right, it
do that.
was,
Tuesday
yeah.
nights at 8 o'clock for Wednesday morning, they'll get out in the line and sleep out on their car, and they still do that. It's yesterday it rained, and people are like they take off, but I'm telling you, the best bargains are in the worst weather because you
Oh
go
yeah.
around and it's like, my gosh. And I'll tell you, my coworker, well, one guy told me last week, I hear this all the time. One guy told me last week he found an $800 exercise bike for $20 because it was just dirty and someone was wanting to get rid of it. And
Yeah.
so I tell you, I bought a truck out here. I bought a Flash that was worth $350 for $4. And so I have a hard time walking around here with money in
Yeah.
my pocket because it's just gone.
It's like boom,
So
done. Okay. So, and you said who was the one who loved animals? Was it Ruben?
yeah,
Ruben?
Ruben. Ruben,
No.
my coworker, is a huge advocate of cats in particular. He when he finds stray cats, he has them spayed and neutered, and then sometimes we'll surrender them to no-kill animal shelters and things like that. So he's a huge advocate for cats in particular. We've done a lot of work at the Mission Open Air Market with the Animal Defense League. We've had pet adoptions. I love animals. And so it breaks my heart to see, as we deal with stray animals, it breaks my heart to see stray animals out there. And I think we just as a community, there's enough of us out there. Like the other day, I was riding my bike on the river and I got on Facebook Live. Someone had dumped 3 puppies at the park. Beautiful black puppies, little Labradors. And I was just like, I can't pick these dogs up. Can someone come and get these dogs? Well, and sure enough, someone in my Facebook Live saw that, went over there and got those puppies. And
Oh.
uh, and so if we could do more of that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so I had posted this. What was it yesterday? Oh, actually, 2 hours ago. Um, so there's an exotic animal breeder that wants to set up a safari park on the south side, just north of Texas A&M University of San Antonio. So, do you what do you think? Since that is going to be in your district, what do you think some of the challenges are? Do you think that's even something that should be in the South Side itself?
Well, I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about it. It's funny because that's not that far away from us as a
No.
market. I'm wondering what the owner's opinion is on that. I mean,
Yeah.
we're of two minds when it comes to people who own property, and I'm sure you will agree. You don't want people telling you what you should do on your property.
Right.
Unfortunately, we do have rules. And an exotic safari across from the university, I thought that actually that land was broke ground the other day to make a whole um, uh, kind of like a
It's like a
development of, yeah, of
for yeah.
apartments and
Mhm.
stores, kind of like what they're doing over at the Pearl development, um, something like that. But that doesn't seem to jive with the um, the vision that I had for the area. Um, I mean, I'm thinking about all the businesses that are around there. I think there's an at-risk youth teen program that would be, I guess, butted up against. Now, you said north of Texas A&M San Antonio, so that puts it inside 410 on the south side. The greatest charm about 410, I mean, the south side for us in District 3 in this particular area is you could still get on 410 and drive, you know, relatively quickly from, let's say, Zarzamora to 37. Guys, you need to enjoy that because at some point this is all going to change. The advent of the universities, business development, things like that, it's just going to get more congested, and then we're going to lose that charm. But it's an interesting thing to think about. I guess I'd have to think about it more. It all depends so much on the smell, the animals themselves, the threat that they bring to the community. I would really want to know, what do the constituents think? and
Yeah.
I want to know the arguments for and against that. What value does it bring to the neighborhood, to the people around it? Does it help us? Does it provide? Let's say for instance they do this, and there's an element of therapy for veterans. That seems to be good. There's an element of therapy for seniors. Wow, great. There's something that they're doing for kids that's teaching them about taking care of the planet. Well, this particular facility, is it green? Does it have a zero emission type of thing? Those are conversations or things I'd like to know about,
Yeah.
and that would help just tell me where I would want to stand on the issue. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's an opinion, especially. We've got some stuff coming up on the ballot right now regarding the police union and various other hot topics. People are kind of afraid to talk about this because we don't want, being targeted by union and things like that. The citizens of this city have to pay attention because they really do. You have to read what's on the ballot because what might come up now, what is being marketed is one thing, but what is being counter marketed is another thing. But
Right.
when you can read and comprehend what's happening, you're going to be probably really surprised what there's not being told to you, that's on the ballot. And so, just like this thing of exotic animals, everything. We cannot be afraid to have conversations about that. And whether you like my opinion or you don't like my opinion, the moment that we begin to get rude, personal, and insulting, we are not affected. We as a community, let me just tell you something. And this is part of the passion that I have. The people that care enough to ask that questions are going to be the ones that I want to hear from because it's only 4.5% voter turnout. There's 7,000 people out of 153,000 people that are determining the fate of District 3.
Which
All
keep in
12
mind, which keep in mind, 153,000 people. That's a lot of people, right? For my race and for the Texas House of Representatives, we had 178,000 people. That's not
Wow.
that much of a difference.
No.
So that's a lot of people that are not voicing their opinion.
But my point to that, and both on the police issue and both on the exotic animal issue, is what does it matter if people aren't voting? What does it matter if people don't care? And so what I'm saying is we could talk about it all we want, but unless people show up to vote, we're never going to know what you want. Now, I'll definitely listen and make recommendations, but I think on some level, as a city councilman, my job is to advocate your interests, but not tell you how to vote. That's up to you and every individual to be informed, and I could share with you why I think that's a bad idea, but that's incumbent on you. And if the majority of the people are interested in something being successful, it's not about money with me. I could care less. I don't even care if I win. I would like to win, but it's more about what good can I do to protect the interests. Because here's the way I look at it with the veterans. My job is to advocate for those veterans. Why? Because you guys took the oath to protect our interests. My job is to try and protect yours now. And so that's what I feel like the role of any elected official is to take care of the citizens that they represent in the best way possible, not to exploit them. I'm interested in bringing jobs to the area. But if the jobs are going to be low-paying jobs and that company is not going to be contributing anything to the community, both with the quality of life, or it's only going to be taking from us, I'm less inclined to be supportive. And so I'm really interested to find out what people think.
Right, and that seems to be the issue. Is I know we had brought this question up about Amazon.
Oh my gosh.
Amazon is okay. Yeah, everybody's like, well, there's a lot of good opportunities, blah blah blah. But the problem is that if you look at the past or the other locations, right, especially like in California, things like that, there's a lot of failed. It's a failed plan because they're not either if they are hiring somebody local there in District 3 or if they are going to hire somebody in the area, it's a low paying job or they don't have enough protections and things like that. And it's just a high turnaround job to where they just get somebody else, and it's not going to be beneficial to the people itself. So,
I'm so glad you brought that up, and I'm sorry I'm going to cut you off. Were you going to ask a question?
no, go
I'm
ahead, go ahead.
sorry. No,
Go ahead.
because I just saw a Frontline special, and I wrote a paper on a reflection of this video profiling Amazon and their rise to what they are now, uh, going back as far as Jeff Bezos in the early days to where he is now. People don't know that Amazon's in facial recognition now. Amazon is in data security now, and we don't know how much involvement. I order from Amazon all the time. I have a book on Amazon, but do we have to understand? It's like Facebook. How do we reconcile identity theft when we give away our identity? How do we reconcile the ease of buying things on Amazon when we are so, we're compromising our security and information? One of my coworker Ruben, and I don't know if this is true. I haven't checked the facts. That Amazon was accused of providing information to track down immigrants, and so he got off Amazon. And I don't know how long ago was that, but we were just talking about this yesterday. So we have to, you bring up Amazon. It's so ironic because it's scary how powerful they are to publishers, for instance. In the early days, if you didn't give them a kickback per se, they would turn the buttons to buy the books off on on your series of books, and they would destroy you. And so first time authors' careers were destroyed because the publisher decided that they didn't want to play ball. And then if you spoke up to to the feds investigators, so they would turn around and ruin your life in the way that you couldn't make a living. And so this is all on a video. It's on Frontline. I trust Frontline because I watch them. And it's really difficult now. This is getting into journalism and communications, and I hope you don't mind.
No, you're fine.
It's really difficult for people to understand the difference between someone's opinion and actual reporting. And I look at the news with a lot of skepticism. And I've been very disenfranchised with the local news. Although I love the reporters, I love the job that they do. It's the types of stories that are being covered, the things that matter, and then whether we really care about sensational things that are happening in Hollywood. Are you just trying to sell ads? But another thing is, it's important for us now, even on the national level, to understand that when someone is offering an opinion, you need to be able to know the difference. And so you're welcome to listen to anyone, but at the same time, make an informed decision. Check your sources out. Make sure it holds up to your values and your beliefs, and make sure you're not being led astray. So that's something that we have seen in the advent of social media. There is no journalistic, or there's a lot less journalistic integrity when people can produce high-end videos, and they're done in such a way that they add an air of doubt or inspire a level of hatred. And so watching what we see when the kids were little, when I was little, oh, he's watching too much TV, or what are you watching on TV, or what are you listening to? But I think we've gone completely the other way on this, whereas we're not scrutinizing what we see or what we hear enough to be able to determine what is true and what is not. So there are people that don't like 60 Minutes. They don't like Frontline. They don't like some of the various shows that are out there, and it's really tough to tell.
And there's a graph that I saw that shows all the media outlets, right? Like all of them, all of the like CNN, MSN, everything, and they had them in a chart of like, and again, I don't know if this is true, but it everything that the way it worked, it did seem that way. You have basically left-leaning news agencies and then right-leaning news agencies, and you have like just central news agencies, and they're kind of like there's like maybe one or two up there that were kind of in a sense
in the
of
middle.
unbiased. Yeah, and so that's true. I mean, but if
Was
you
the
look at
Preface
it,
news hour in the middle? Because it
yeah,
seems to be the thing that, to me, in my opinion, that is pretty much middle of the road, and not advocating one agenda or the other.
yeah,
Um, you were talking to check this out. You brought up Amazon. A lot of people don't know this. Amazon, or Jeff Bezos, owns the Washington Post, and so during the Trump administration, Trump actually took uh, shots at Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post because they covered him unfavorably or something like that. And so that was part of this video. It was really fascinating to watch, um, this power play between the political structure and the media structure. And it's, we as citizens have to be engaged and aware and educated, so we're not led down one way or another. Because the media can lead you one way, but
yeah.
politicians can lead you another way. And so we're going to have to be able to reconcile and understand both.
Right. And that was the whole main purpose of establishing this program, is because when I ran, I noticed that there was a lot of inconsistencies, and with especially with the media, and some that they were like, well, we're only going to cover this because it's newsworthy, right?
Yeah.
Newsworthy. And like with TPR, they said that the only way they would interview or have like a some type of forum is if the campaign had an established headquarters. They had a list. They had to have an established headquarters, one paid in whatever employee. And I was like, it's dumb. Oh,
So there's
sorry.
a barrier,
There's
big
a
barrier to,
barrier.
we call that in
Yeah,
business, a big barrier to entry or big barrier to the
yeah.
interview.
Pretty much. And so that was the whole reason why I started this, because I'm like, well, that's not fair. And it's actually illegal, as far as with nonprofits to um just only interview certain people, like candidates. If you don't include everyone, it's actually illegal to do that. So that was one of those things I'm like, but nobody bats an eye at these things.
Right.
you know
Because no
um
one's taking a collective look and then holding them accountable.
right. So, and then even if you do file a form to IRS, nothing seems to get done, it doesn't look like. So but but anyway, as far as with the police department, what are your positions with the police department, the accountability issue, and how all that's playing right now?
I grew up cruising military drive, just like a lot of people did. And there was, at that particular time, now I'm older, and the police don't harass me. It was more when I was younger. I had the loud sound systems and everything, trying to be cool. I wasn't. And I drew attention, because when you're younger, you try to get attention, through these things. And it's very important for us to understand that no citizen in this country is above the law. And so, um, sorry, the police aren't better citizens. They're citizens whose job it is to enforce the law. And that's a tough job. The thing is, I love the police. I do dearly, because they do a job that I don't think I can do. Just like I love the military, because you guys, if you manage to go to war, things, you guys did something that for us that I didn't think I could do. And so, but as far as the police, they do it on a regular basis every day. Um, and so, I've got several friends that are police, and I asked them, like, one serves warrants, and I said, what occurred to me the other day, and I said, you serve warrants. You must serve warrants on adults who have children. And he says that's exactly, the worst part about it, is that you see the conditions for which these kids live in, and you see that you might be taking their parent away from them. And you don't want to have that impression on the child's mind about the police. But at the same time, they have a job to do. Now, that being said, you know, they are legally, and I just heard this morning, and I haven't developed this thought all the way through. And um, they legally have the right, depending on the situation, to end someone's life if they're in harm's way. And if you're concealed carry, you also have that same thing. Well, to me, if you're in a position like that, um, in any other situation, if you had the burden of that responsibility, you should also have a higher threshold of scrutiny for using that. Now, it's easy for me to say that. I mean, it's easy because I enjoy the privilege of the protection of the police. And it's easy for me to say and speak up my mind in America because of the veterans who've paid the price for my freedom and my ability to speak. But at the same time, um, we also have to remember that from the very top to the very bottom, it's not practiced. The uniform application of the law is not practiced. You can think of examples throughout history where, whether it be the political will on the politics side or you just know the right people and it went away kind of thing. Um, I want to work towards the ideal vision of America where I feel like everyone is equal and everyone gets treated equally. And as a citizen whose job it is to enforce the laws, you should be equal as well to me. Now, you might have better representation because you have access to, a union for which you've paid dues, better defense, and on some level, that's an unfair advantage, but that's a privilege and a perk that come with the law. It doesn't mean you don't get charged with it. It just means you have better defense or better representation. The idea of a collective group of people covering for each other, if that's the situation, that's fundamentally wrong, no matter what it is. And so whether you're a policeman or whether you're not. And so ideally, I have these views, whether they get uniformly applied, it just, I know it doesn't, and so I'm not naive. Um, but at the same time, the culture of the police department, there's this whole movement of defund the police, which I think is silly, because you don't do that. If anything, what you do is, and I've seen this actually. I had someone break into my car, and I found out who did it. So I went to the police and talked to the detective, and we're at the substation, and he goes, "Look around the room." And I'm like, and he goes, "Do you see other detectives here?" He goes, "Just me and another guy." He goes, "They've made so much budget cuts that there's only two of us here." So chances are I can't do what I want to do to talk to this kid who broke into your car because I don't have the time to do it. I've got to take care of other things. And I looked at it and realistically, I was like, why do I expect them to care about something so small? I definitely want them looking into more serious crimes. But at the same time, what's it going to cost for us? What's it going to cost us? Because crime is a big issue that everyone cares about. What's it going to cost us to feel safe? No, that leads into another issue about San Antonio being a not very safe city for women, which was one of the questions on my questionnaires. And so we're not even talking about that. How do we change that? What are we willing to do to change that? So this tug of war between solutions and resources to solve those problems is in every problem that we have. But I think that when that's not every case, like in the issue of the veterans, I think there are people out there doing it. We just need to connect them. And so my job, I think, is a conduit. My job is you come to me with a problem. My job is to help you solve it and then ask you, would you help me solve someone else's problem? Will you help me? And try and enlist people's opportunity and goodwill to help each other and be good neighbors. So
Yeah, and that's the big thing is that you have to know where to find these resources, right, or these connections. And I've been blessed to be able to be that link to some people, and I'm grateful.
yeah.
During the whole snow thing, like there was actually a lot of people that are saying they got their information from me and not from the city, and that was like crazy to me because I'm I'm nobody, right? You know, and so, but the fact that they were getting their information from me, like the news or the updates with certain things or resources, I mean that tells you what what lack of information there is, you know, especially from the city and things like that, or from from any issue, especially with the police department and even right now, I mean, there's still that like you were saying, the tug of war between SAPOA and Fix SAPD, and you know, Fix SAPD has said that they're not for defunding the police, they're just to remove the chapter, which you know, we have to look at the qualified immunity, right? That the police have, and who else has qualified immunity? Because we saw with ERCOT, they have qualified immunity. The police department has qualified immunity. Who else has qualified immunity that we don't know about? Because all these things started coming up, and we started seeing that all these issues were happening, and finding out that all these entities have qualified immunity. So I think we need to look at that as well, right?
Yeah,
To find out what's going on.
right.
Who's going to be able to get wipe their hands clean and not be accountable um, at the end of the day. And if you look at, I think what Fix SAPD has said that there are different police organizations that have meet and confer and not collective bargaining agreements. Um, I still haven't really dived into that as far as meet and confer and what that actually really means. But it looks like San Antonio is the only one that has the CBA. But is that something we need to remove? I don't know. I don't see how it would change. And I've actually asked Apoa and Fix SAPD to be on this show together. Um, so that way we can kind of settle this whole issue, right? But that's still on a holding pattern. So,
Well, and
uh,
I think that you're talking about people who are not comfortable openly discussing things that they could be held liable, and or and so uh, they might not be confident enough uh, to talk about something that might turn around and or they might misspeak. And that's something I worry about. I mean, and not about so much the liability. I just want people to understand that being comfortable, being imperfect is exactly who I am, and
right,
so
right.
I'm going to work on that and
We
be the
we
best
all
I can be.
misspeak.
So
We all misspeak.
yeah.
You know,
No, and
it
before we
happens.
forget, I want to thank you for what you're doing because this level of journalism that you're bringing forth to the community is giving them a resource for which they can collectively decide. As a journalist too, we've made a commitment that we're going to put the other candidates in links on our Facebook page and on our
Oh,
web page, so the citizens can actively look and decide who they think will represent them best. Because I mean, and I've seen candidates in the past; they're reluctant to tell you who's running against them to figure out whether you like them better. Me, it doesn't matter. Get out there and vote. And if I've got the message you want to hear or
right.
the ideas that you want to see, vote for me. And if not, then somebody else might be better for us. To me, it matters not, but just more people vote. That's what I
Right.
want. Same thing at the
Yeah.
school boards. More people vote. Uh,
Yes,
anyway,
be engaged with those, and that actually something I did last year with one of my opponents. We reached out to each other, we called each other on the phone, and we had a
yeah,
conversation. And we were like, "Hey, if we get into office, or whoever gets in office,
yeah,
I'll be there. You know, if you want to ask me a question, because we were on the campaign trail, right? We talk to citizens just as well as others, and you know, we might have a different take on something. So if we work together on these issues,
that's
I
cool.
think that ultimately is what it works.
Well,
And
what's
real
cool is
quick,
the kids are going to be proud of that take. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say.
yeah, no worries. So here, hold on, real quick. What are your thoughts on ranked choice voting?
Oh,
Um, have you heard of it?
I have. I
Do
think
you
it's
think that's something? Oh, sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you think it's something that you know, maybe we should start looking into possibly in our city?
I think it should be, and the problem is you think about who would invoke that. I mean, it might have to come from I don't know, maybe the state level or city charter. to do this. I think it's a better idea to be cost effective. Elections cost money, and we've got to be, you know, I just think it makes sense. There may be one of the ideas that I had was, let's say it was formulaic. So you have three candidates, no rank voting. But if you had more than five, then you would put in the ranked choice system.
Mm-hmm.
There would be kind of like a trigger. Right now we have 12
Yeah.
running for the same office,
Yeah.
and yeah, look, it made you laugh. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and no offense, I mean, that's usually people's responses is like 12,
Yeah.
So the thing is that though, being that I think it's wonderful that so many people want to run, and I've actually reached out to several of candidates just like you, and I've said, hey, you'll never hear anything negative come from me. That's up to the voter to decide, and look at what you have to offer. Uh, you know, uh, I'm not going to pay dirty politics, and even me and Marcelo Martinez actually had breakfast, or he had coffee. I had breakfast because I have hyperglycemia, and uh, and we had a good time talking. Him and I are fathers of girls, and we really connected. And so
Mhm.
I've spoken with Phyllis Villagran and had a great conversation with her, and Angela Cardona. We had a great conversation, her and I, and so uh, I almost ran into Mark Vargas. I just saw him real quick because as I work at the market, I thought I saw him here, but we didn't get a chance to say hi. But I mean, any of the candidates that are watching out there, hey guys, I'm going to greet you. I'm going to smile. I'm going to love on you. I just love the fact that you're running. And so don't be shy. This is nothing personal or anything like that, but just like anything else, is like we said earlier, is if you win, I'm here. No, I'm not going to be petty. I'm not going to worry about anything. This is about what we can do. What's the
Yeah.
larger picture? And
Right.
so, yeah,
Exactly. And that's definitely awesome. And just to let people know, ranked choice voting, it would it would be an instant runoff, right? So in
right,
situations like this, to where we have multiple candidates, District 3 has 12, District 2 has 11, the mayor race has 15, the District 5 has, I think, 8. I can't remember. I have the list, but there's so many candidates, and so with those larger ones, we know there's more likely going to be a runoff, especially when there is no incumbent in District 5 and 3. So you know there's going to be a runoff, and the runoffs cost $8 to $10 million every time just to hold a runoff, and on top of that, it has a low voter turnout. So you
yeah,
know, in situations like this, that would be amazing that we can hopefully try to do it this way. You only vote once. The rounds, the way it shows on the rounds, this is just an automatic process that happens. You vote your candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in whatever order you want, and then if your first person doesn't make it, then your votes for your second person go in, and so on and so forth until there's a clear, defiant winner on 51%, just like it is now. So, and that would be the instant runoff. So, it's something that nobody's talking about here in San Antonio because it is new.
yeah,
US is just started incorporating in 2019. So there's some other states that are doing it, that are actually starting to implement it. There's also approval voting as well, where you just vote whatever candidates, you know, you don't rank them in order, you just vote. So there's that. It's just basically how many votes they get. Pretty simple. So it's definitely something we should think about. And I know people are like, well, it's a learning curve, but if you look at it, we just had a learning curve as well. We had to do our different ballots a different way, and we had to put them through the machine and whatever it is. So it's no different. You know what I mean? Um, but okay, so is there anything else you want to close off with, as far as with your campaign, that maybe we didn't get to touch on, or any final words that you want to say?
Well, I mean, final words. There are things that I care about that no one's talking about. I found out that the city bus doesn't go out to Toyota, and my mind's blowing. Why would you put up a multi-billion-dollar business and provide no access to the lower income establishment or people. And so I've done some digging. I presented in front of VIA. I've asked them, is there a way that we could do that? Then, of course, COVID hit and everything was out the window. But I'm interested. I want to find a solution for maybe a mom who has a son or a daughter who wants to work at Toyota or a supplier and doesn't have a vehicle to get out there. And I want to have that conversation. We can do an on-demand shuttle service where they could text that they're going to be picked up from the facility that's just south of South Park Mall. I can't try to remember what it is. That's something I care a lot about because I can imagine we could impact the life of one family or many families. And I know that public transportation access is a factor because I've talked to employers, people that do the staffing there. They said if the bus came out here, we wouldn't have problems filling these positions. And so that was really what spurred that whole thing into, you know what, we're going to make it. We're going to make it happen. And so if it wasn't for COVID, we would be in a completely different place. Another thing I care about why is it that, that the area around Brooks is some of the most poorest neighborhoods in San Antonio, but Brooks and the businesses that are around there don't pay taxes in the school districts. I care a lot about that. I want to have a conversation about why the businesses that are being attracted to Brooks don't feel an obligation to pay back into the community like every other business that comes to our area. And so I really want to thank you for the opportunity to share these ideas and spend time with you guys. I've done, I would like to plug my website and Facebook page, and I invite people to come over, take a look at the videos. I grew up in a segregated Black area of town from the 1950s. All my neighbors around me were Black, so I tell stories about my neighbors, things and experiences that I had. It was just very privileged to have such wonderful people all around me. And actually, if you look on my Facebook page and my we have testimonials, and we have testimonials from all people. And so people that know me, that have known me for years, this is something that sets me apart from other candidates, is the testimonials that I have from people. And so I want to invite people to go to officeofstevevaldez.com and also to our Facebook page. It's Steve Valdez for District 3. But also another thing is...
Let me type it in. So office of stevevaldez.com, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let me know if this looks right.
And one of the most important things that I have to say this. Recently, I was talking to a gentleman who works at the VFW. And I asked him, what are the issues that you guys care about? And he is an Iraq war veteran. He says, it's not even us. It's more about the Vietnam vets. He says, if you can do something that welcomes them home, or if you can do something that celebrates the Vietnam vet, you would receive so much love. So I want to challenge all the other candidates that might be watching this video. No matter who wins, let's work together and do a welcome home celebration for the Vietnam vets. We are Military City, USA. We are known for our fiestas. And why can't we have an annual event? As the Vietnam vet gets older and older, and they start leaving us, let's do what we can to reconcile the hearts that were broken because they did not receive a hero's welcome when they came home. So many of them were told, don't even wear your uniform out because people would hate it. And we employ vets over here at the Mission Open Market. They talk about being spit on, hated on, etc. Some things that these Iraq War veterans hear these stories and can't imagine. They did not get reintegration classes into society. They were just basically dumped back into the community and said, good luck, or not even that. And so I want to do that, something I'm very passionate about. I want to share that with you guys. It doesn't matter who does it, but I would like to see if maybe we could work together and get that done. And let's do welcome home for the Vietnam vets. That includes all the other vets and includes the whole community. And, if I don't make it, if the election doesn't go my way, I'm going to be working on pushing that through because I think that's a brilliant idea. I see vets all the time. I talk to them. I ask them, how was Korea for you? How was Vietnam for you? I've had them cry. I heard them tell me things about the things they've had to do, and they don't usually talk about this stuff. And so, anyway, just want to share that with you guys. Thank you for the opportunity. I sure could use help passing out door hangers. We don't have the resources to do block walkers and things like that. So if you could please reach out to us on the website at officeofstevevaldez.com, send us an email, pick up some door hangers, let your friends know about us. We got lots of videos and things on our website that we're very proud of, issues that we care about, crosswalks in front of the Dollar Generals that are connecting to neighborhoods, just the issues. What is it you care about? What is it you want us to do? And that's more important that I hear from you guys to help shape what we want to do as we represent the area for you. So thank you, Eric, for the time,
Definitely.
and really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it was funny that you were talking about that because I bought this. Well, I didn't buy it. It was actually from the VA for my hopefully my father-in-law's not watching, but he gets this Vietnam War 50th um, commemoration of the Vietnam War, and it's from the VA. It's really cool.
Vietnam War was so messed up from the
Yeah,
beginning
yeah,
all the way to the end. It was
yeah.
just so terrible. And you think about this now. This is something very, very important for any young kid or any person who didn't serve in the military. You served in the military. I assume you volunteered to go. And but imagine.
I
And,
volunteered to go to Iraq too. I don't know. I don't know why.
thank you so much, sincerely. Um, but imagine you're at home and you're in your family and you receive a card in the mail that says "Report to Fort Sam." That's what that generation had to do, whether they volunteered or were what's the term, drafted into the military. That was the generation where we saw almost a pandemic type death of our young men who went off to war to protect the interests of our country, and thousands of lives were stopped, changed, impacted from not just them, their family and extended family. I talk to people all the time. My brother went; he never came back. And so just I can't imagine, and I've thought this for years. I can't imagine what they must have felt like coming back and reintegrating into society and then receiving so much resentment. What the soldier did and what the government asked them to do were two different things. And so we see that now. We see that now. We have to go back and make that right for all the ones that are alive and even the ones that have left us. There's been a fundraiser at the Mission Open Air Market for years wanting to get a Vietnam War memorial. And that gentleman has actually since passed away. He passed away a couple of years ago. And so I think it's a great thing to champion. Reach out to us at the Mission Open Air Market. We always hold fundraisers for the veterans. VFW comes out and recruits. We use our social media to help enhance what it is the veterans do. We care a lot about nonprofits. We're ready to work with you. Anything that can help the community. We give away, on Wednesday, we gave away, what was it, 2,100 meals to kids for free. That's something that I was very privileged to get to help on. But that was spearheaded by one of our managers who saw that, and I helped him develop that to fruition. It's called Be a Champion. They give away every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, each child gets 7 meals.
Yeah, I think I
Imagine.
did. I shared that on my
Oh,
thing.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, and just thank you everybody for watching, and whoever is going to watch afterwards, because I know a lot of people can't make the live stream sometimes, but hopefully this kind of gave you a better sense of idea of who Mr. Valdez is, and thank you for having that conversation with us. But also, how can people donate, volunteer? Is it just on your website directly itself?
Right. So we have a link on our website at officeofstevevaldez.com if you want to donate. And thank you in advance. And then volunteers, you can send us an email from the website and let us know. Or let me give you a phone number if you want to call.
Yeah.
You can reach us at 210-619-6074. Leave a message or send us a text. and let us know. We need all the help we can get. You know, we don't have a lot of resources, but we have you. And enough of us get together and care about the same things and have conversations, advocate for each other. We can do a lot. And and again, thank you for what you're doing, Eric. This is a very
Yeah,
important
for sure.
element. So on the record,
Thank
you
you.
know, no, seriously, on this record, that I just want to say that you know, you're learning a lot as you talk to people, and
Mhm.
that is incredibly valuable resource. One of my biggest I'm a fan of Tony Robbins. Tony
Oh,
Robbins began his career interviewing. He says also that when you are successful, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just find out what other people have done and do what they did. And
right.
so you're on your way to doing some really incredible things. You've made some strong connections in networking as a business major. I can tell you that a lot of the educational facilities don't teach people how to network, and young people need to network. You need to make
Yeah.
friends. You need to connect. So
Yeah.
this is our first introduction and being a friend.
Yeah.
I extend my hand to you, shake your hand in friendship, and I look forward to our next opportunity to visit.
Yeah, for sure. And I need to go check out the missionary flea market again. I haven't been there in a minute, but I was actually telling my wife the other day, I was like, I was like, um, what's your favorite flea market? And she was like, I don't know. I haven't really been to one. I was like, but we have. We've been to one. I think it was like Bussies because we used to go to Bussies. But, um, you know, so I was like, man, we need to go back because that's my roots. You
That's
know what I
it.
mean?
That's it. You're not the first one to tell us that. You know, I
Right?
tell you, people come back and they're amazed at what the changes that have been made. But you know, by and large, we get it all the time. And then what's
Yeah.
interesting, and I'm sorry, this is working for the mission. People think, oh, you're a flea market, you're a business. Don't look at the flea market. Look at the people who are
Yeah.
selling here,
Yeah.
because they talk about shopping local. You can't get more
Yeah.
local
Right.
than this. You know, before it's a business, it's a
Yeah.
table at the flea market. And
Right.
so come out to the flea market and meet the entrepreneurs that are out here, that are selling, that are, hey, bring your kids. If you want to come out and teach your kids how to sell, set up the things and let them sell. You know, you just can't sell food, you just can't sell beverages, but they can sell stuff that they make, crafts and things like that. This is a great opportunity to learn. It's a great opportunity to meet people. I'll tell you what, we had COVID, we had a lot of people pass away. We've had some people on our staff. I've actually had COVID, and my wife gave it to me for Christmas. We recovered, and I'll tell you, there's some people that are in a lonely state. Come out to the mission and make friends. Walk around and talk to people. You're going to come away with an experience, not with what you buy just for the bargains, but we're a tight knit community out here. And I'm going to tell you something else. Sounds funny, but when we ran into political problem with the zoning issue of the market, we all our vendors were like, we need more parking, and they came and filled that zoning room. We had probably 150 people still talk about the mission going and wanting more parking, and so it's not about the market. Our market is about the people, and a lot of not a lot of markets know that. Our job is to make sure that they do well, and we give you as a buyer an opportunity to find some of these toe curling bargains that you find. Because Ruben, he just started with me about 5 years ago. I've known him for a long time, but he's just started here. He's always bringing stuff in that he finds out there. So this is a collector's paradise. This is a
Right.
buyer's heaven. And if you have a shopping fix that you need to get, you got to come to the Mission Open Air Market. You know, guys. So thank you
Right.
again, Eric.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate you for saying that. As far as like with the what I'm doing, because honestly, I didn't think I'd be doing this. I've had so many different occupations, right? I've done photography. I mean, I still do photography for 10 years.
Me
I
too.
was aircraft engine mechanic. I was
Really?
a security in Iraq. I was
Wow.
uh in politics. There's all these different things, but I was
You know
like,
what I
well,
want to do? I
what?
want you, if you will, let's say after the election, you know, if by chance I don't make it, I want to interview you on your own show, and I want to find out all your stories about you. So if you'll at least think about that, allow me to do that. I would love to hear. I would love people to find out. I'm always curious about people, and I'll tell you, it's funny. I talk to people all the time, and I'll meet people, and I try to connect with them on a certain level. When I was downtown doing some business, one of the ladies that was helping me, then I'll protect her identity because it's very important. I asked her, "Have you had anyone pass away?" And just for some reason, I asked her that, or get sick. She turned around, she said her dad did, and I just, I wanted to hug this person so bad because it's like, can you imagine? And so, what you do is, the things that you've said are very important to me, and that's what's I'm going to be thinking about. And so, I would like an opportunity to talk to you. Actually, that was my intention today, and we didn't get time for that. Was to find out from you what is it the things you care about, because it's more important not that I talk; it's more important that I listen, because you're going to have more information about various issues than I will. So if you will allow me, can I invite you to lunch? We can sit down and talk about the things you've learned,
Yeah,
informally. You'll share with me, and then you be my guest over coming to the market. You and your family come over to the market, and we'll host you guys, and have some fun out there. And so thanks again.
Of course, yeah, and I gotta try those tacos out. So,
Hey man.
um,
And the
I
menudo at the Mission Open Air Mission
oh
Cafe.
man, there
Menudo,
we go.
world famous.
Well, awesome, Steve. I appreciate it, and yes, I'll send you my number here after we're done. But yeah,
Vale.
thank you for joining. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for just being engaged. Keep staying engaged with the election. Again, last day to register to vote is right now, today. Has to be postmarked before they closed, or given to Bexar County elections before they close. I'm sorry, I don't know what time they close today. Pretty sure it's like at 5 or so, but go check it out. Go get engaged with your school board elections. You'll see some of the SAISD, North ISD. I don't know if I'm gonna have time, but I'm gonna try to do the Judson ISD, and some of the other ones that I haven't been able to reach out to. But I'm just trying to also make sure that I still reach out to a couple more people that I didn't get a hold of as far as the city council elections. But definitely stay tuned to those, stay engaged, ask questions, keep doing that and vote. So, but thank you, Steve. I appreciate you coming on, and
Yes.
y'all have an awesome day.
Bye, everybody.